What is up, guys? Welcome back to the GZ Up in the Attic podcast. Man, this has been the first time I have started the podcast in probably the past 8 months. Segueing back to the video I did with Julian Tessier. Um, I don't know. I don't think I've done a video since then. A lot has happened. A lot has changed. My life has changed significantly, in probably the best way possible. But it has changed. But it's a conversation for another time. It's a story for another time. But I'm kind of just like, I'm off for Christmas break. I'm off for winter break, I guess you could say. And I now have the next 2 weeks to see if I can get some traction going with this podcast. I don't really have an audience. I don't really have a fan base. I don't really have a lot of people that are kind of supporting me along this journey yet of podcasting. But I also think that's a good segue into what I'm about to talk about and what the theme of today's video is, which is, what is your excuse? It's a comment that it's a not a comment, but it's a kind of store. It's a topic that I've kind of I've heard by a lot of creators. And Casey Neistat, I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce your last name right, man. But just a phenomenal, super he's up there with some of the top YouTubers in the world, right? And something a video I think he just recently posted, was just with a kid who had some sort of disability. I don't remember what it was, but he ran a marathon, and it's flipping crazy. I cried watching it during the end, and it was just really incredible to see how, even with the cards you've been dealt in life, physically, mentally, whatever it may be, you're still able to push through that and do something amazing with the life you have. And I think it's something that's so special is like, you see how so many people out there in life tend to kind of veer away from the dreams, the the risks. They kind of veer away from their 8-year-old self, right? And I think there's something that I kind of looked at, going back to a couple of videos I've watched, is like, there's this video of this guy. I forgot. I mean, you probably seen it all over social media, right? I was scrolling right one day, doom scrolling, and I saw this guy post this video. It was like, there's really only two people in life you're trying to impress, and that's your 8-year-old self, and that's your 80-year-old self, right? And I found it so special, hearing something like that, because there's this 8-year-old self, right, who's like young, curious, ready to explore the world, right? He's looking into all these new things, right? I mean, he has all these big dreams and wants to go do these big things, right? And then there's the 80-year-old self, right? Who's, if you've made it to that point, you want to have a life to look back on, something that's truly special, something that's truly meaningful, filled with amazing adventures, people that you've met, hard challenges that you've overcome, hard seasons of life that you've still able to turn into, hard seasons of life that you still have been able to turn into lemonade, I guess, right? And I think, there's really those two people. I mean, yeah, of course you might want to impress your boss at work, or might want to impress your family, or you might want to impress all these people, right, in life. But I think there's true merit of the real relationship, and not only the real relationship, but the most important relationship you can have in your life is the relationship with yourself. And that means being kind to yourself. That means helping yourself. That means being the guy who's able to cheer for yourself in the hardest times of your life when nobody else is cheering for you. And I think something Alex Hormozi said, which is truly special to me, and something that I really I look back on it all the time. And it's he's like, there's gonna be periods of time in your life where you're just gonna be the guy clapping for yourself. You have to be that person. And there's not gonna really be a lot of people out there who are gonna be cheering for you. It's maybe just you in an auditorium by yourself with a long, long, slow clap, right? And it's really like that's what it might take. It might just take you, me, myself, and I, just going through this by ourselves. And I think it's so important to be there for yourself when you're surrounded by people who you don't feel like are there for you, whatever it may be, right? And I think another thing he said, and don't quote me on this, but he said people sometimes are going to cheer for you when you need it the least. And they're never going to be there for you when you need it the most. And we're going to have, when you overcome these challenges and you go through these hard times in your life, and it's a long, flipping, slow process to the final point you make it, right? And then you're having all these people cheering for you. But you're like, dude, I'm here. I've started to now make, 6 figures. I've started to now build the life that I've wanted. I've now got the family that I love. I've now, I have my dream car, whatever it may be, right? Whatever it is. But did I have that when I was, in my young 20s, just grinding it out, maybe sleeping in my car, barely able to get by? Did I have anybody cheering for me? No. And I didn't even have all those things. And I think it's so important to just know that just being by yourself is not only a special thing, but it's also a needed thing. To be alone, to be by yourself, to be in your thoughts, to be in your feelings. It's how you dictate your life. If you can't sit alone in your thoughts, you're not going to have authority over your life. You're not going to have dictatorship over the things that you want in life. And you got to stay grounded in being able to just be by yourself and be able to have comfort and be comfortable living by yourself or being by yourself or whatever it is, right? You got to develop that relationship with yourself before you can even develop it with others. Because if you develop it with others, but you still haven't developed one with yourself, you gotta do it with yourself, right? But that's like my little intro into today's kind of video. But we're also kind of trying to stay on the main topic. I get off that sometimes. Just what's your excuse? What's your excuse in life? And I think that's such an important thing, right, to think about. Is like you see all these guys, see all these people out there who, even with like the cards that they have been dealt, are still able to produce and have the life that they want, or not only have the life that they want, but do things that a lot of other people didn't even think they could do, right? And so, I think it's one of those things where doing this podcast for me, like I don't do it often. I don't do it often, right? But it's something that I'm doing to try to get a little bit outside of my comfort zone. And I'm I kind of want to start posting on Instagram, but like I said, like a lot of my friends, a lot of people in my life, they're not gonna see this stuff on YouTube, I don't think. Just because not only does it barely get any views, but on top of that, like it's YouTube, and my kind of 15-year-old kind of teenager era, a lot of people around me like just don't really watch YouTube anymore. It's just all scrolling on Instagram. And I think the next thing for me to do is like post on Instagram. That's a real step out of my comfort zone, because then I know people are going to probably take a look at it. People that I know are going to probably take a look at it. And I think it's this thing of like, if you want to start a podcast, if you want to go do whatever you want to do it. Like, there's no right time to do it. Do it. Like, I don't have the best materials. I don't have the greatest. I have a solid mic. I have, solid stuff, but I don't have like this quality's mid. It's not whatever. But I'll develop that stuff and I'll get those things over time. But what matters is that I'm doing it. I'm starting. Even though I don't have the flashiest shit I want. I don't have that, but I'm starting. I'm doing it. And I think it's important to just not let excuses get in the way of doing things you want to do in life. Like, let that sink in. I think so many people get caught up in the world of like, oh, I can't run a marathon because this or that or whatever it is, right? Or people get caught in the world of like, oh, I'm nervous to post on social media because all my friends are gonna see it, or like, oh, I'm, don't want to start this business because what if it fails, dude? Fuck it, because at the end of the day, what does that do for you? It doesn't get you anywhere except for the comfort of your own mind. Like, do that. Start that business. Go out, run that marathon. Start that podcast, whatever it is, right? Like, what's that excuse that's holding you back? And it's something you gotta check yourself on. And I gotta check myself on it all the time. Like, what is that? What is the thing holding you back from doing what you want to do in life? And I think about this time where I had to go to my school, and of course, I had to go to my school. I had to. My school's doing book chats, like book clubs, kind of. It was only like this meeting you do like for one time for like an hour, right? And I would, I it was for a book you had to read over the summer, right? And I chose this book that actually the person running the group the person running the book club was the head of the school, right? And I kind of saw it coming because the theme of the book and the title and what the book's all about is kind of like the school theme of like our school theme in general. And I was like, so probably the head of school is gonna probably take it. But I think it was not only a cool experience being with the head of school, and it was also in our house because our house is on campus, right? Not only being with the head of school in campus, in our house, with a bunch of people sharing these ideas, sharing these thoughts about a book we all liked, right? But also on top of it, like in the beginning of the book club, she like had us all do like some like icebreakers or like social things, like little stuff of like just like get to know you things, right? This was like kind of the beginning of the school year, and she did like this like just stuff to kind of like get the room more settled before we started getting into this big group discussion. So we kind of like always like, oh, let's just go find somebody in the room. We just would go find them, like, yo, what's up? What's your name? My name's Teddy or something. And like, oh, Teddy, what's up? My name's Gabe. Like, let's let's talk about this. And it was not like, oh, let's just have a conversation. It was like our school, our head of school was like, this is your question to talk to somebody about. This is the next question to talk to somebody about. And so we would be like, all right, what's your favorite cookie? Oh, all right, what's your favorite book? Oh, what's been the coolest adventure you've gone on in your life? Like all these prompts that the head of school gave us, right? And one prompt that she gave us was, if fear wasn't a thing, if the idea of fear, the what like fear, if fear wasn't a thing, what would you do? And I think like that in itself was so like it was so mind blowing to hear like something like that. And I know it's like, yeah, like of course it's something to like yeah, like of course if fear wasn't a thing, like of course fear holds us back, like yeah. But like framing it that way and it having it be like a thing of like flipping the switch of like, what if you just didn't have this? What would you do? And that just opened up so many things. Like, what would you do if you weren't afraid of what other people thought, of how it was going to go, of what would you do? What would you do in life? And go do that. Like, if you don't have a lot of money, but you just have enough to squeeze by, like, maybe you're by yourself. Like, I don't know. Like, buy that plane ticket, dude. Yeah, of course you're scared, of course. But would you rather let fear hold you back from doing the things and stay comfortable? Or would you rather take the chance, take the step, take that leap, take that trip, apply to that school you want to apply to, ask that girl out, start that podcast, whatever it is, dude, whatever it is that you want to do in life, you should try to do the best you can to make that happen. Because even if it doesn't work out, at least you tried. And at least you did what 99% of people don't do, and go for it. Like, this school that I go to now is like, I did not think I was going to get in. I did not think it was a possibility. I was like, kind of came out of left field. I was planning on, staying at, the place I was originally at. I got the opportunity to go, and it's like, of course I was scared. Of course I was uncomfortable. Of course I didn't want to do it at first. But over time, I hit that, acceptance button, and I was going to go. And, it was, that kind of moment of me of like, if you have opportunities presented to yourself, or if you have the ability to take a chance, take it. And take it while you have a chance. There was this like country song. I was in like a grocery store someday, and I was hearing this country song, and it was like, if you have a chance, take it. Take it while you have a chance. If you have a dream, chase it, because the dream won't chase you back. And I was like, that hit hard. It really did. And I just want you to know, like, don't let comfort stop you from doing what you want to do in life. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast of like, really only two people you want to impress in life. There's really only two people you should impress in life. It's your 8-year-old self. It's your 8-year-old self. And think of like right now, think of whatever's stressing you out. Think of whatever is on your mind, or whatever's like scary to you, or whatever like you want to do, or whatever it is, right? Think of your 80-year-old self and think like, is that guy going to care? Is he going to care about, your 9 to 5? Maybe he is, maybe, but is he going to care about your troubles or your anxiety as a 27-year-old? Is he going to care about, this little thing that's on your mind, or little thing that's holding you back? No. He's going to care about the massive trips you go on. He's going to care about the girl you ask out. He's going to care about the opportunities you take. He's going to care about that. And as hard as it may be, at least you know that you're not holding back, and you're not doing what 99% of people do, which is holding back from their dreams, holding back from what they want to do in life. And I think it's so important to do these things, to take those chances, because at the end of the day, nobody's gonna care. Nobody's gonna mind that you did the podcast. It might feel like cringy in the moment, but in the long like road of things, like who's gonna really care? Who's gonna really care that I posted this stuff? Who's gonna really care? Like, I don't think anybody's really gonna care. So just like, do it. Take the chance. As embarrassing or as uncomfortable or as scary as it may be, take the chance. For the love of God, take the chance. And keep dreaming. Dream big. And once you've dreamed as big as you possibly can, don't let it just stay a dream. Turn it into reality. Because unless you're like trying to learn how to levitate, like unless you're trying to do something that's like actually impossible, then do it. I mean, you can even literally learn how to levitate by like doing all these props and stuff or like whatever. Like you don't have to yeah, maybe it's not physically possible, but like maybe like figure out a way to like try to levitate like by like having a pulley system or attach you to a tree. Like there's like the sky's not even the limit. Like people go to space. Like there's so many things you can do, and there's so many things that are possible. There's so many things. Just don't let others, the opinions of others, the embarrassment, like I said, the uncomfortable things, like the scary, the fears, whatever it is, don't let it stop you. Because if your 80-year-old self looks back and it's like, man, I wish I lived a life more full. And it's funny because it's like it's a common thing that happens. It is. It's a common thing in life that does occur. You know, there was a test that not a test. There was a thing. There was a video on like a bunch of people were interviewed. They were like older people. And they were interviewed on what they like, things that would come up. Like, what is something like, I don't know. What are common things that like older people say relating back to their life, like previews of their life. Like what, like I don't remember exactly what it was, but like it was questions that were asked relating back to their life. And so many common answers were like, I wish I did more. Or I wanted to do this. Or I wanted to do that. Or I wish I didn't let fear stop me of this or that. It was a common thing that would come up. And it's like, no, like, it's not surprising. It's not. Because so many people get to the end of their life and they're like, where'd all the time go? Because as much as like you have time, you also don't at the same time. It's funny the way it is. It's like you have the ability to shape your life. So shape it. Don't let your 9 to 5. Don't let your whatever's stopping you from doing it. Don't let that get in the way of doing what you want to do. And that's the excuse. That's the excuse, ladies and gentlemen. That's what it is. What is your excuse? And once you figure it out, attack it. Bite it off. Chew it off. Like, kill it. Like a sickness. Because as much as it may be scary in the moment, you'll thank yourself and you'll be so proud of yourself later on that you took the opportunity to do it. And if it, like I said, if it doesn't work out, if whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's a trip, whatever, it doesn't matter. If it doesn't work out, at least you know you tried. And at least like I said, you did what 99% of people don't do. And it's you tried. It's you tried, man. And that's something that's like, that in itself is something that is so special. Is just to try to do it. And, I think it's so important that you do. So it really, really is. So I didn't know if I was going to want to talk about this, but I think I will, because I don't know if it's a good segue into what we've been talking about so far, but I think it, definitely holds value. And, it was talking about this like analogy, and I was looking at it yesterday, I think 2 days ago. It doesn't matter. I was looking at it the other day, and it was about, and I'm not taking credit for this because there's some guy who's talking about it, and it was called the Black Coffee Method, I think. And I found it like it blew my mind. It blew my mind. And like, I did it blow my mind. Like it was solid. It was a really good analogy. Um, and it goes like this. So you walk into a cafe, right? The barista or whoever's taking your order takes your order, and you tell them, "I just don't want black coffee." And it's like, I just don't want black coffee. And the barista or whoever's taking your order, like I said, is confused. They're like, okay, cool. So what do you want? And it's like, I just don't want black coffee. And that's something that a lot of people do in real life. And it's something that a lot of people tend to say when they're trying to make decisions over their future. And a lot of people are like, oh, I just don't want stress. I just don't want my 9 to 5. I just don't want whatever it is that's bothering me. I just don't want to be poor. I like it's that stuff. And that's the same thing as like, I just don't want black coffee. It's not giving you any direction. It's just saying what you don't want. Like, sure, yeah, maybe it limits a little bit off. Like, yeah, you don't want black coffee, right? There's so many other things you can order. What is it that you do want? I want money. I want to build this business. I want to have this family. I want to find the girl of my dreams. I want to get out of my 9 to 5 and travel the world. Like, I don't know what it is that you want, but be confident and also say it. Like, say what you want and make it clear. Don't be like shady like a lot of people are and be like, I just don't want stress. All right, well, yeah, of course you don't want stress. What is it that you do want? Yeah, of course, I don't want my 9 to 5. Like, I just like, I don't like working at Dunkin'. I was like, all right, dude, what is it that you want? What is it that you want? And it's something that is it's something that's so powerful because once you can start to tell yourself and once you can start to create the life that you do want and start telling yourself like, this is it, this is what we're going to do, this is what it's going to be, and starting to take action, not only just talking the talk. This is also something that's so powerful, but not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. Once you say what you want, take action and go for it. Because once you have that power of your mind, once you're able to tell yourself what you want and then take action and go for it, you'll be surprised at how quickly things will start going the way you want them to go. It's crazy. It's cool. And so, I think your mind's a crazy thing. It really is. It is. I mean, you know, just in general, you are going to you can do so much with like your brain is like it's bananas what you can do physically and mentally. But what we just mentally just and physically block ourselves off from doing in life. Um I think it's just so important to just stay open minded and just keep that brain flowing with stuff. Um and just like if your brain is it's such a crazy thing, your brain, it's bananas. And like, yeah, Gabe, of course it's bananas. It's like, it's your brain, like, yeah, but at the same time you have a lot of power over it and you can control it. It's like, if you're going to tell yourself like, oh yeah, I'm gonna stay in this 9 to 5, or like, oh yeah, things are not going well for me in life, or oh yeah, this is not working out. Your brain's gonna find ways to convince yourself that it's not going well because you're convincing yourself that too. Your brain's going to find ways for you to stay in the positions that you're in life because you're not taking action. Not because you're not taking action, but because you're convincing yourself that things are not going well. You're staying in that loop, right? This is a different segue, right? But you know, your brain is it's a powerful thing, and you can tell it what you want to choose to tell it. And that can be like, that can be things are really going well, or that can be things are going like crap, you know. And your brain's probably gonna find both different ways to provide evidence for those statements, right? And just going back to the black coffee method, you are going to be able to find ways to build the life that you want if you are clear and precise with the life that you want, right? Vice versa, you are also going to be able to stay stuck in where you are if your brain and yourself provides evidence that you're in the place that you are. You're gonna find, you're gonna find ways to stay in the same place, but you can also find ways to stay out of the same place. And it's one of those things like, alcoholics talk about this. Is a weird thing. Alcoholics, drug addicts, they talk about all the time of like how they always have so many excuses to drink or to do drugs. Like they say like I would always find an excuse to drink. I would always find a way to do it. I would always could always find a way to convince myself that drinking was the right thing to do. Like I could always find a way, like, oh, for example, like, oh, really, really crappy day at work. Man, let me just take the edge off with it. I'm not saying I'm not saying that that's like somebody in particular that I'm thinking about. I'm just saying like people have people have said stuff like that. And you apply it to the same thing. Like, oh, I don't want to, this is going back to the original thing. Like, oh, I can't run the marathon because of this. Or, oh, I can't eat healthy because I don't have time. Or, oh, I can't go on this trip because I don't have, like, whatever it is, right? But, something that goes back, a powerful, powerful, powerful quote that comes from this guy named Nick Bare, who I truly love. He's a hero to me. I mean, the dude has meant so much to me in my life. I mean, I can't even begin to explain, just over the past couple of years, the influence he's had on me. And I truly can't express enough like how much he has shaped who I am as a person, and then on top of that, like just the absolute coolness of who he is and his company and the people that he works with. I watch their videos all the time. And you get hooked, the Luke Hopkins effect, if you know, right? But story for another time. Anyways, he said a quote, or at least BPN said a quote, which the company works for. It goes like this: if it matters to you, you will make the time. And it goes for so many things. If it matters to you, you will find the ways to make it happen. You will. Right? That's the negative side of things, right? Or that's the positive side of things, right? That can go either way. Right? If your 9 to 5, is something that's trapping you, you'll find ways to keep it there. If drinking is something that matters to you, you'll find ways to go keep drinking. If living the life you want really matters to you, or if going D1 in a sport really matters to you, or if getting into the college you want to get into, if that really matters to you, you'll find a way. Maybe it's, college is a very pinpoint thing. I mean, yeah, if you really want to go to Yale and you don't get into Yale, it's to Yale. But, you know, what I'm saying, what I'm trying to say, you know what I'm saying, is like, if it matters to you, you will make the time. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining the GZ Up in the Attic podcast. Please make sure to look at plenty of my other videos. I'm going to start posting more regularly. I truly can't thank you enough for just seeing this, making it to the end of the video. I really, really appreciate it. Make sure to support. Make sure to give me a like, give me a subscribe. You know, turn on those notifications, I guess. That's what they all say now. But truly, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Peace.